Welcome to the Link in beautiful Philadelphia. 57-degree day and nothing but sunshine in Pennsylvania as two of the great franchises in the history of the game meet in Philadelphia. The all-time Niners and the all-time Eagles have combined 12 trips to the Super Bowl, 64 playoff wins, and some of the greatest legendary football players we've ever seen underway today. I'm Nick Rice, and I'm joined today by Hank Cinnamon, PR52. Randall Runningham, we call him, one of the great dual threats in the history. Hank, he'll take the field first.
I call him Eagles quarterback 0 because of that Tecmo thing where he didn't want to play, or he didn't want his name in Tecmo Super Bowl.
Yeah, from his Tecmo days to his Madden days, Randall Cunningham, his numbers were phenomenal running the ball. He checks it down to Van Buren in the receiving game for the first down.
Steve Van Buren, ultimate running back for the Eagles. He's got to be on your Mount Rushmore, being the MVP of the first Eagles championship. Hopefully he has a good one in this one.
Five-time first-team All-Pro, joined by Pete Retzlaff, two of the legendary original football players of this franchise, has another first down for the Eagles. We had mentioned in our last telecast against Atlanta, the Eagles couldn't quite manufacture points on these type of drives, but they're off to a hot start yet again. In fact, it is the third first down in a row for this offense.
3 straight first downs almost for 3 Hall of Fame receivers and players for the Philadelphia Eagles. It's good to see them getting active early.
Fourth play of the drive, and Cunningham's check down to Weaver is incomplete. Let's check out some of the Hall of Fame players on this offense. Mini Maverick on the left, Tony McDonald, joined by Mike Quick, Pete Retzlaff at tight end, Leonard Weaver, the fullback, and one of the elite running backs in the all-time roster franchise, enshrined in Canton, the Hall of Famer out of LSU, Steve Van Buren, who has actually had a relatively underwhelming season running the ball, but we've seen him early as a threat in the receiving game. Cunningham throws to Retzlaff, another deep threat for this offense, gain of 9.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to replicate Steve Van Buren because he's kind of a short white guy, and they don't really translate to the modern day NFL unless you're Christian McCaffrey.
Van Buren on the third down, he got just enough in front of Nick Bosa of San Francisco. Van Buren, the most rushing touchdowns in franchise history, certainly a threat at the goal line. We'll see if they utilize him in this drive. At the 30, Cunningham goes deep, and that's nearly picked off by Johnson, the team leader in interceptions, nearly with his third. The San Francisco defense, a combined 7 members of the Hall of Fame. Patrick Willis is one of them. Ronnie Lott, Dave Wilcox, Jimmy Johnson, and Leo Nomolini. A big challenge today, Hank, is that San Francisco defense.
And that was a pass that Randall might wanted to have had not thrown in the first place. Very dangerous in the end zone where you want to get points, and if you get a turnover there, that's just demoralizing for your team.
Dave Wilcox, the injured Niner. Certainly Randall Cunningham very thankful that he did not throw the turnover there. Deep ball to McDonald, and everyone's getting involved on this drive. A 3rd and 14 conversion.
Yeah, I always say that when you drop an interception, that there's going to be a first down or points scored on that drive. So very lucky for the Eagles.
Already the 5th first down pickup on this drive. Pihos reels it in, 6 for 8, 74 yards, a clinic in the passing game from Randall Cunningham, a 3-time Pro Bowler out of UNLV, which was much maligned for his lack of playoff success, a career 3-6 playoff record with the Eagles, but he was also one of the most dynamic players in the game. A check down to Van Buren, touchdown, Philadelphia.
Amazing screenplay there for the Eagles. It seemed like Van Buren was going to be wrapped up in the backfield, but he was able to get around defenders to make it to pay dirt.
The extra point from Dakers is good. We had mentioned that, maybe because of his era in the 40s, some of his skills don't translate. He picks up a 3rd down on a goal line plunge and reels in the touchdown on a 15-yard screen pass. That feels like today's era of running back in the National Football League, and he delivered in a big way to give the Eagles the early lead. McElhenney returned to the 19, while Cunningham was brilliant on that drive. In comes Joe Montana, who's been nearly perfect. He comes in ranked second of the whole league in completions, 508 yards and 2 touchdowns, what has been a brilliant campaign for Montana.
Joe Montana is the type of player you wanted inside 2 minutes, especially in the Super Bowl. He was able to deliver very well for the 49ers in his career.
He's going deep on the first play of the game, and Samuel has picked him off. He brings it back to the 50, and Kittle joins Perry on the tackle.
That was announcer's jinx right there. Didn't really expect Joe Montana, one of the GOATs of the NFL, to be throwing interceptions that early, but Asante Samuel was definitely a player that was a very opportune guy in getting interceptions.
Nick Rice, Hank Cinnamon from beautiful Philadelphia. Joe Montana just threw his first interception of the season. That is the first interception by an Eagles defensive back this year. Van Buren for the gain of 6.
Very strange. The only interception of the season was by Concrete Chuck Bednarik, a linebacker for the Eagles. And the Eagles had some good DBs in their franchise history.
They are led by the likes of Asante Samuel. Mike Quick, one of the leaders at receiver, picks up the first down of the gain of 7. It's been by committee for this Eagles offense. Harold Carmichael, Tommy McDonald, nicknamed Mini Maverick, Pete Pihos, A.J. Brown, Harold Jackson, and Mike Quick round out the receiving core for this offense. Retzlaff is the team's leading tight end and picks up another 8 yards. Willis with the tackle.
The very methodical drives here by the Eagles, checking it down, doing what they need to do to get points.
Van Buren buried in the backfield by Hall of Famer Leo Nomolini. The Eagles come into the game ranked 3rd in the league in first down pickups and tied for 5th in the league in third down conversion rate. This offense has been very productive on both ends of the 20-yard line. Cunningham, part of the reason is his ability to do that as he lunges for the first down.
Yeah, one of the biggest things for Randall Cunningham throughout his career was his ability to scramble. He really did not become a precise passer until he started playing for the Vikings.
Certainly easy to be a precise passer when you've got those receivers out there. The pass in the end zone to McDonald, it was a good one, but a bit too far, incomplete. For Philadelphia's Randall Cunningham, he was runner-up for the MVP in 2 seasons, 1988 and 1990. The talent was certainly there. He couldn't quite put it together until later. False start.
Could be a drive killer here for the Eagles if they stall out. The 49ers have a very, very stunt defense. We'll see what the Eagles do here.
4-man rush. Cunningham looks left and throws it to McDonald in the end zone. He makes the catch, touchdown.
Wow, Tommy McDonald looked like his feet were hovering over and they just dropped in the perfect spot. I've seen that happen sometimes in college football. But that ball just hung up there. Randall Cunningham takes the hit. And Tommy McDonald, he just, look at that. He just hovers and he falls to the ground. Ronnie Lott had no chance.
A 6'2" Ronnie Lott lunging for the football, but it's a guy no taller than 5'10" with shoes on. Mini Maverick, Tommy McDonald, his second touchdown catch of the season. Philadelphia against a team of the 49ers, one of the last undefeateds in the all-time roster franchise, and they've got him up 2 touchdowns in the first quarter. McElhenney is down the ball for a touchback. San Francisco has outscored their opponents by 31 points this season. They are 3-0, and a team that is one of the favorites to win it all this season, down by 14 on the road. 2 tight ends to begin this drive on 1st and 10. First run of the day from Frank Gore. He is leveled at the 21 by Bednarik. In the NFC West, they aren't just leading the division, but it's not even close. We've played a quarter. More out of Philadelphia right after this. The Eagles by 2 touchdowns. Welcome back, Nick Rice and Hank Cinnamon. Beautiful Philadelphia, the site. 3-0 all-time 49ers at the 2-1 all-time Eagles. Philadelphia shut out their last opponent a week ago against the Giants. Gore on the call and a gain of 2 on the play.
Frank Gore is one of those players who I felt like when he came into the NFL, he wasn't going to be as good, but he was a guy who just came out of nowhere and was the MVP of that 2005 season for the Niners when they were getting a new quarterback in Alex Smith, and he took the league by storm, and he ended up becoming a fan favorite in San Francisco.
One of those workhorses for San Francisco for a decade of the NFL, acquired in 2005. Montana runs the ball for 6 as the Niners inch downfield against the number 4 defense in the NFL, a defense minus Hall of Famer Brian Dawkins, who's out with injury today. It is this San Francisco offense certainly capable of putting together a scoring drive. Jerome Brown wraps up Gore a yard away from the marker. 3rd and 1 coming up.
Let's see if the 49ers are able to pound this up the middle. The tush push would be great here.
They've got a good goal line back in Gore, but they'll fake it to him on a 3rd and 1. Montana goes deep over the post. There's the tight end. A first down to George Kittle, and they say yes, he's inbounds.
Yeah, he got that catch. Great job getting 2 feet inbounds. Caught the Eagles in a zone and weren't able to cover him on that post route.
A good 1-2 punch at tight end for the Niners in the all-time franchise. Craig, the number 2 at running back for them, behind Frank Gore, gains 6. At tight end, they have both George Kittle and Vernon Davis. At receiver, Jerry Rice and Terrell Owens. San Francisco is loaded with Hall of Fame talent on offense. Play action, and Montana is taken down by the blitzing Troy Vincent. Loss of 4.
Famously, the president of the NFLPA, Troy Vincent, was a mainstay on the Eagles for almost a decade.
Known more as a cover corner, but he makes a big play rushing the passer, Craig, for a gain of 12, first down.
And that's a big risk running the ball on 3rd and long, but Roger Craig and the Niners were able to get it done.
1st and 10 at the 14-yard line. Against the blitz, they'll toss it to Gore. It runs right over Asante Samuel for 4.
That doesn't surprise me. Asante Samuel is one of the worst tacklers I'd ever seen for the Philadelphia Eagles. Great getting interceptions, but really bad at tackling.
Just saw one earlier in the ball game. Hit as he throws, and Wilson is down to the 2-yard line. That brings up 1st and goal for San Francisco. In an injury update, Dave Wilcox, who sustained an upper body injury in the first quarter of the game, he is back and ready to go for that Niner defense. 1st and goal, they'll give it to the 3rd-string running back, Hugh McElhenney. Touchdown, San Francisco. The Niners are right back in the game with 2:44 to play in the half.
That's one of those situations where you're a fantasy football owner and you're like, dang it, who has that guy? The answer is nobody.
And the extra point is good. Fantasy football owners have been striking it rich with Montana and with Cunningham this year. McElhenney, his first rushing touchdown, gives the Niners an offensive boost. 2:44 to go in the half, and now it's Cunningham's turn again as the Eagles receive, and it's Van Buren for a touchback.
We call those 3rd-string backs vultures because they had no business making it all the way down the field and scoring points like that. So they're vulturing it off of a guy who actually deserved it.
Make no mistake, Hugh McElhenney, certainly a legendary running back in his own right. Bubble screen, and McDonald gets nailed by the guy back in the game, Dave Wilcox. You see the numbers, Hank, 125 yards for Randall Cunningham, the guy that had, when he retired, the most rushing yards among quarterbacks all time, a good enough passer in his career. Cunningham also heads up play, recovers the fumble.
Yeah, that was almost a dangerous play for the Philadelphia Eagles because you fumble the ball if you're Van Buren and the Niners recover it. They're in great field position to possibly tie the game up. So heads up play for Randall picking that ball up.
A 5-time NFL champion there to jar it loose. Charles Haley, he hosts on a check down. And the Niners coach, Bill Walsh, calls timeout. San Francisco, in these sort of situations, they thrive. We'll get the ball back with 2 timeouts as well. Donnie Bagabones Jones, 4th in the league in punt average this season. A good one downfield. Deion Sanders the return. And Hassan Reddick joins Tom Brookshire with the tackle. 67 yards away from tying the game, Hank. They have 147 to do it.
And they can definitely get pay dirt on this drive and tie the game up. It's all comes down to whether or not the Eagles play aggressively or if they play back.
And as mentioned, they have played a bit conservative with just the one interception in 10 quarters from their DBs this year. Good rush from White, but it doesn't matter. Over the middle to Wilson. First down to the 28-yard line.
Yeah, they kind of did get aggressive on that one, and they played back in a zone, but were unable to get the guys back there in order to cover the guy over the middle.
Certainly guys like Darius Slay and Bill Bradley don't bring the same amount of moxie and experience that Brian Dawkins brings to this defense as they get torched over the middle for the big game.
Brian Dawkins was one of those guys who did really well playing at the line of scrimmage. Not as good of a cover guy, but he could still cover.
Absolutely. 5-man rush for Philly. Montana unloads to Washington. Dragged down to the 27-yard line, and San Francisco will elect to call timeout with 1:01 to go in the half, setting up the 49ers near the red zone, down by 7. Blitz is coming. Montana guns it. Wilson dropped the football at the 11. It's 3rd down.
That's one of those situations where you catch the ball and you are looking upfield thinking about where you're going to run or where a guy's coming instead of trying to possess the ball.
3-man rush. Montana over the middle to T.O. He had his fair share of drops in his career, but also some big catches. Reels it in to set up the Niners in the red zone. Montana incomplete, knocked away by Maxie Bahan.
Number 33.
That's another situation where if you are playing against Joe Montana, you are a defender that gets his hands on the ball, you better catch it or else he'll make you pay.
Over the middle to Owens, and we've got a man down as he reels it into the 5. That's Maxie Bahan, the 5-time Pro Bowler out of Georgia Tech. The Niners have marched downfield, maybe even too quickly. 38 seconds remain in the half. Here's Montana to the end zone for Owens. Touchdown. And San Francisco played the clock nearly perfect, and we are an extra point from being tied at 14.
And that's what I told you. If you're a defender that gets your hands on the ball, you better catch it, because most times Terrell Owens is going to have his way with any DB, and he just totally burned the guy that he was facing against. What was it? Bobby Taylor, right?
Yeah, you've got Eric Allen on one side, and then Eric Allen, and he was very good in his day and one of the most electrifying return men in the league after he caught the interception, but his break on the ball certainly cost them 7 points. David Akers, capable of hitting a long-distance field goal. We'll see if they give him a chance. Eagles at their own 20 with time winding down in the first half. Van Buren squirts the hole and picks up a couple. The Eagles, who jumped out to the early 14-0 lead, have slowed down on both ends of the ball, and it appears they're going to milk the clock and go into the half tied at 14. A marvelous comeback from Montana, who's thrown for just over 100 yards today with the touchdown to T.O. And indeed, at the end of the first half, we are tied at 14. Second half between undefeated San Francisco and the all-time Eagles coming up next, right here on Charge View. Nick Rice and Hank Cinnamon, PR52 on YouTube. All-time Niners 3-0, all-time Eagles 2-1. Hank, the first half is in the books, and really it was a tale of 2 quarters. Philadelphia from the Van Buren screen pass and the McDonald touchdown, had a dismal second quarter and will come out on defense to begin the second half, giving up 14 in a row.
Well, that's not the part that really surprises me. What surprised me was Joe Montana just throwing an awful interception on the first play of the game, something that he really didn't do throughout his career. But the 49ers really bounced back after the Eagles' drive stalled out.
And as you can see, 77%, 134 yards and a touchdown, 6 to pick to Samuel. Off of the opening pass of the day, he's been basically perfect against a good top 5 defense. There's Rice, a good idea to get him involved. Second grab of the day and his 12th of the season.
Well, Joe Montana is just really lucky this season because he gets to play with 2 Hall of Fame wide receivers, and 2 Hall of Fame wide receivers who, mind you, set plenty of records in their playing careers.
Not to mention a Hall of Fame caliber tight end who's had an all-pro day. George Kittle inside the Philly 25.
Yeah, no one is covering him over the middle in that kind of post over the middle, and he just took advantage of that.
George Kittle, the all-time 49ers leader in receiving yards among tight ends, sets him up in the red zone, and Owens wheels it into the 17. Look at those numbers. Off of the interception, he's been 13 of 15 since. The Niners are up against the worst red zone defense in football, the all-time Eagles, and a chance to take the lead. Hand off to Gore. He dances to about the 14-yard line. Bednarik with his 5th tackle of the game.
Bednarik is a guy who's just definitely going to swarm around, and they're really going to have to create a wall here to stop the Niners because they've just been abusing them as of late.
Off the 5-man rush, there's Owens, 1st and goal.
Number 81.
Perfect call for the 49ers against an Eagles team that is really bad in the red zone. Guys playing off, and just a great pass by Montana.
In the middle of a marvelous drive, from their own 20 to the Philly 7, Montana throws it in the backfield, and Frank Gore loses one. Seth Joyner with the tackle.
Very dangerous play for the 49ers because if Frank Gore drops that pass, there's a chance that the Eagles could return that one for a big one.
2nd and goal. Play fake from Montana. A check down to the backfield again, and Joe Perry, Hall of Fame fullback out of the 1950s, and is the 3-time league leader in rushing touchdowns, a good threat of the goal line, is out of the game. It's 3rd and goal with Craig in at running back. Snap at the 7-yard line to Montana. Pressure's coming. Montana loses the football, forced by Bednarik, and Fletcher Cox recovers. A 73-yard San Francisco drive, and they score nothing off of it. It's a turnover, Montana's 2nd of the day.
Perplexing that the first 2 plays for the 49ers in that 1st, 2nd down possession, they were passes to the flat. They weren't passes to the end zone where you've got Jerry Rice and you've got T.O., who are amazing in the end zone.
San Francisco has already matched their season average in total offense, 271 a game. The all-time 49ers have a lot of production to show for it statistically, but no points on the board in the second half. Draw to Van Buren. That's the sort of play, the fumble off of the checkdowns in the red zone that can really swing the momentum of the game. The Eagles fan base is starting to feel it after the turnover from San Francisco. Van Buren under duress, and he gets nailed by Willis.
I always say that if you're in the red zone, if you're inside the 10, you better get points, because if you don't, again, like you said, that's just a huge momentum killer for your team.
Blitz. Cunningham, a wide open Pete Retzlaff, rumbles all the way to the 47, a gain of 25.
Yeah, it's almost like they're thinking to themselves, like, these receivers just aren't huge names, so let's just not play them as tough as we would if it was like Hall of Fame from the 80s, 90s, 2000s type guys. It seems like they just forgot about these dudes.
J.D. McCoy with his first run of the game, and he picks up 7. This Eagles receiving corps, they may not have the headline top guys like Rice and Owens, but they have a deeper receiving core than that of San Francisco, with 3 members of the Hall of Fame and a very productive tight end in Pete Retzlaff too. McCoy is decked at the 40 by Fred Warner, who adds to an already deep linebacking core for San Francisco.
That's one of those things the 49ers always had. They always had good linebackers. Their team could have been 2-14, and they've got like a Julian Peterson or something like that.
Or Navarro Bowman.
Or Navarro Bowman.
End of the third, we're tied at 14. 4th down coming up right after this. The Eagles will elect to forego a 59-yarder, and I'm sure you know, Hank, that Akers is at least capable of sending one towards the crossbar, but they bring in Jones instead, and it winds up only assisting them 22 yards of field position. It's a Eagles touchback.
Well, I'll tell you what, David Akers' range for the Eagles was like a 52, 53-yard field goal. His range for the 49ers was like a 62-yard field goal one time. He made that in like his second to last year playing in the NFL for the 49ers. But for some reason with the Eagles, he just never had peak leg strength. He was accurate, but he couldn't kick past like a 53, 54-yarder.
Well, despite the lack of distance, he still has the most field goal makes in franchise history. Deep ball, and it's nearly picked off by Jenkins as Montana nearly commits his 3rd turnover of the game. The very quarterback who had 0 giveaways in the first 3 games of the season, and they've won all of them. Craig on a 3rd down, he is dropped by Jerome Brown, one of the greatest defensive linemen to not be in the Hall of Fame. That brings up 4th and 7. Andy Lee in for the punt.
The 49ers are very fortunate that this game isn't a one-possession game right now, since the Eagles' drive stalled out completely at around midfield, because the Philadelphia Eagles could easily be taking control of this game, but they aren't because the 49ers defense was able to make a key stop.
Critical passes early in the game from Randall Cunningham, the 6'4" dual threat out of UNLV. Van Buren with his best running day of the season as well, 31 yards on 11 carries, a 15-yard receiving touchdown, and he's looked more like the Hall of Fame back we expected going into the year. He's the single back at the 43-yard line as the Eagles, with 6 minutes to go, are searching for the go-ahead points. Van Buren again, another 13 yards and a 1st down. Merton Hanks the tackle.
This was the kind of game that you want to see from a Hall of Famer like Steve Van Buren. He is playing more of the way that he did in the 1940s in this game.
It certainly helps. The offensive line is moving the Niners out of the way, led by the Hall of Fame tandem of Jim Ringo and Bob Brown up front. Jason Kelsey also a good job at the center position for the all-time Eagles. Cunningham with a 4-man rush. Plenty of time, and he finds Quick again, who sheds a tackle. 1st down to the 29.
Noticing here that the 49ers are mostly playing back, it seemed like the short routes are available for Randall Cunningham to take if he needs them.
Another brilliant day throwing the ball from Randall Cunningham as Philadelphia can maintain their sole possession of 1st in the division with a win today. San Francisco is one of the last remaining undefeateds in the NFC. Under 4 to go. Cunningham on a quick drop. Incomplete off his back foot to McDonald.
That was probably one of the worst passes today for Randall Cunningham. If he hadn't thrown off of his back foot, that might have been a completion.
Cunningham looks and throws in the end zone. An open Retzlaff has got it. Touchdown, Philadelphia.
And that was a play where Retzlaff was able to get behind the safety. Ronnie Lott has just not been playing as well as he should. And just the opportunities for the Eagles in the red zone are able to show themselves with that touchdown.
And the extra point is good. A hat trick from quarterback Randall Cunningham today. And the all-time Eagles, after his 3rd touchdown strike, lead the game. The favorite 49ers, undefeated this season, 21-14. 3:38 to go, and San Francisco's got it back a touchdown to tie it. McElhenney with a good return. A flag is down as he's tripped up by Berge, but a hold on McDonald wipes out nearly 20 yards of field position.
Well, I mean, they still have Joe Montana, so they still have a chance. They still have plenty of time on the clock, 3 timeouts. If you want a drive that's methodical, that's what Joe Montana can give.
Nearly picked off once again by Jenkins. And Joe Montana just has not looked like himself today, Hank. The quarterback who came in as one of the highest rated passers in football.
False start.
And that won't help. False start.
Repeat, second down.
You know, Philadelphia may not have the sort of Hall of Fame talent that we have in other all-time franchises just out of the NFC with guys like Green Bay and Chicago and all of their Hall of Fame players incomplete. You see Eric Allen knocking it away, but they have a very solid defense overall.
Yeah, the Eagles have always been known for their defensive line. They've always been known for getting a lot of sacks. But they haven't always been known for being a bend but not break type of defense.
Montana going deep to the right, and that is incomplete to Owens. Good coverage by Eric Allen. Philadelphia was the #1 defense in the NFL in 1981, led by Charlie Johnson, and in 1991, led by guys like Reggie White, Jerome Brown, and Seth Joyner. Andy Lee sends it away as the defense forces a 3-and-out late in the game. Westbrook on a hop at the 35. He's taken down by Talanoa Hufanga at the 41.
What I really meant was the fact that the Eagles aren't the type of defense that are just going to suffocate you. They'll give up a lot of yards. They might not give up as many points. They might get a lot of turnovers, but they're not going to be the type of defense that's going to be like, oh, we're going to allow less than 200 yards in this game.
Patrick Willis, one of the great linebackers of all time, certainly can shut you down yardage-wise and point-wise like you allude to. He joins Navarro Bowman, Fred Warner, Ken Norton, and Dave Wilcox in one of the most talented linebacking corps in the league. Van Buren sends us into the 2-minute warning. And the situation is clear here in Philadelphia. Nick Rice, Hank Cinnamon on hand at the link. The Eagles can put themselves in a good position to win with a 3rd down conversion. The handoff to Van Buren, and they got it with plenty of room to go. Smith the tackle. Great blocking up front by Philadelphia. It's 1st down.
That hole was wider than Michael Strahan's 2 front teeth. How do you let that as wide open as it is?
Van Buren stuffed in the backfield. Hall of Fame defensive tackle Bryant Young, Charles Haley up front, Nick Bosa on the defensive line, Justin Smith there as well, and Leo Nomalini. Fred Dean is also a Hall of Fame defensive lineman, and they all got pushed around on that play. Van Buren buried in the backfield. You had mentioned David Akers in his field goal range for Philadelphia. This would be a 54-yarder if they don't gain another foot. And of course, to win the game, they need 14. Handoff to Van Buren, and he gets nailed. So in comes Akers with time winding down, Hank, and this will be a 53-yard attempt.
This was just about close to David Akers' range.
Oh.
But it's Donnie Bag of Bones Jones. I think that this is a smart move on the part of the Eagles, just because David Akers was kind of hit and miss from this. But he could definitely have made it with the Eagles. It's kind of a stretch. It's kind of like, I don't know. Maybe a punt is safer because at least the other team won't get it around the 40-yard line.
Would have been the 41-yard line if he missed the field goal. A make would have basically ended the game. Montana incomplete, swatted away by Bednarik. Now, if there's any quarterback to will the offense out of timeouts, 80 yards in under a minute, it is Joe Cool, the Hall of Fame quarterback, 2-time NFL MVP, who had the greatest single-season passer rating of all time in '89 and made plays like this all the time for San Francisco. 18-yard strike to Rice, 209 yards today for Montana, and the Niners are on the move with under 50 seconds to go. Montana clocks the ball with 41 seconds remaining.
The big issue is the fact that there's 41 seconds left and you need a touchdown desperately.
Blitz. Montana guns it. He's going for it all here, and he overthrows Wilson. That is a devastating miss. A touchdown off the board.
You've got to make that completion. I don't care if it's the receiver's fault or the quarterback's fault. You've got to hook up there.
Reggie White brings down Montana, as there was not a single Niner there to touch him. And if there's any guy to wreck the drive, it would be the Hall of Fame White, who's unblocked again, forces the incompletion, and the Eagles deliver San Francisco their first loss of the year.
And it's mostly because you got to go deep. You got to wait for these receivers to set up their routes and get deep enough. And if a guy like Reggie White, he's unblocked, he's getting into the backfield as quickly as that 2 consecutive times, it's going to be tough for you in the game.
Along with Hank Cinnamon, Nick Rice from Philadelphia were the all-time Eagles knock out San Francisco 21-14 to deliver the Niners their first loss of the year. This is the all-time rosters franchise with Charge Dude 95.